This is in no way politically, socially, or even factually correct, so do your own damn research. But basically, there seems to be this growing list of like terrible events and things happening associated with Australia and the world, but like we're going to focus on Australia at this point because if you can't tell, I'm a little bit frustrated. So we don't know who to trust anymore. Most people are relying on catchy headlines that have been poorly researched and churned out as fast as they can, usually appealing to either extreme sides of the political spectrum in Australia, which is not that extreme, but you know what I'm saying. Unfortunately, the shootings in New Zealand happened around the time of the climate change strike, so the 150,000 people that rallied got less air and paper space than they should have. And the shootings were also such a strange thing to witness, and even more so was the reactions of people. Because we are geographically, economically and politically closely tied to New Zealand, and due to the growing divide between groups, due to the growing presence of multiculturalism and multi-ethnicity groups within Australia, people were very quick to discuss the horrific events, and you know, all the news headlines were very quick to, all the news outlets were very quick to jump to it and make claims without a lot of like research or anything. And but on the other hand, there are many horrific events happening across the world all the time that get nowhere near as much coverage or publicity. And this is just because we aren't as associated with those countries, and also because they seem to be things that are never ending, like Syria, which actually only started like 7 years ago. So, and we contribute to. Anyway, I also find it fascinating how we are always quick to label white shooters as mentally unstable or a product of video games, whereas anyone else are actually violent people who have like malintentions. In my opinion, either of these labels is destructive and damaging. Also, why wasn't this man tracked? Like, I thought they were so secure about everything. They watched out every move and every text and every tweet and every conversation. And apparently he tweeted or like told his friends via social media that he was going to do this. He wrote a manifesto. Why did this happen? What happened to all our checks and security and everything? Also, there are so many causes and fights to fight and protests to be had and people to protect, and it's easy to get angry, and the media riles us up because it sells. And it makes sense, like I'm literally making this video right now because I'm angry. But the thing is, and we become more fearful than is necessary, but I also think there are serious threats to be afraid of, obviously, like no inhabitable planet, maybe not for you, but for your children. Whereas like the threat of a terrorist attack is actually a lot lower than other climate issues and their effects that could happen to you. And so, about climate, people don't care, people don't seem to care, people don't want to care, they're both too privileged, both economically and socially, to care, but the point is that you could have not been born into the position that you are, and why not use the power that you have for good? Because life, in my opinion, is so meaningless and arbitrary and ultimately pointless anyway, so who the fuck are you to sit back and not do anything about the people who are in worse off circumstances than you? We also have to learn Australians are relatively lazy. Yes, it's a generalisation and there are lazy people across the world and it's okay, like we're laid back and that's fine, like it's a good approach to life in my opinion. But I also believe that we're lazy about politics and philosophy and only get riled on when it directly affects us. Like we need to care when it doesn't affect us, you know? And we also have to learn not to follow news headlines and articles, especially not if they come from the West or another news outlet who is run or owned by a person of a particular agenda or political group. Listen to rhetoric, read between the lines, and be critical. So what the fuck is going on, Australia? Because who do I trust? Who do I look to? Where do I get the facts from? I don't even know what's going on. My number one priority has and always will be the planet, because without it, nothing else matters anyway. But what about Adani, the Southern Bight, climate change in general? And then also, what about our fucking politicians who claim to care about the people but only want to get re-elected because power does things to the brain? racism and xenophobia that people don't even realise exists, health education in schools, pill testing. Why are we so consumer driven? How could we be more sustainable and encourage owners, workers and boards of companies to act more ethically without economic incentive? Sorry, what the fuck is victim mentality? Why was that invented? Why are universities having to put forward freedom of speech policies? Because students are so wrapped up in their social safeguards to have speakers challenge their ideas. Why is unemployment at almost 14% nationwide for youth and housing prices have nearly doubled? Why is everything so expensive? Creative design is lacking. People don't fund the arts. The arts is so important. Imagine your life without any design or art in it. Just, you can't even imagine it. Are we more nationalistic or more fractured than ever? Is the internet uniting or dividing us, and does it fucking matter anyway? Because we're becoming like one global nation. Is that bad? Is that good? What is Australia doing about that? Are politicians talking about it much? Not as a collective. And why is the conversation of the debate always this or that? Why have we become so conditioned to divide ourselves like this? Why can't we create solutions that are a mix of everything, a mix of everyone? Why can't we just create things that's like representation and the best person for the job at the same time? Why can't we be economic and social? Why do we have to be so money driven? I just don't understand what is going on with Australia. We are such a progressive, good, economically good country on the most part, like in comparison, but we could always be better. And now, all these things that are happening is just like reaffirming how fucked up the national identity that we have is. And it's also showing how kids want to do something but politicians don't want to listen. What we should be thinking about is, what is the role of government? How can I contribute positively to society? And I don't think that throwing an egg at someone is a good way to tell them to fucking shut up. Like, just tell them, okay? I don't think we can fight violence with violence with violence. It's just a perpetuating cycle. It's not achieving anything, except for the fact that he gained like 50k followers on Instagram and like national acclaim. But like, mate, and I don't like complaining that much, okay? Like, maybe it seems like I love complaining, and like, let's be honest, who doesn't love a little bit of complaining? And I hate to tell people what to think and how to act and like how to live their lives, but sometimes you just have to, because things have to get done, and I'm so sick and tired of all this shit that is going on, even though it's not directly affecting me. And everyone's like, oh, you're so privileged. And yes, I fucking am, and that's why I'm angry, because I want to help other people, and no one seems to want to help. Well, no one as in, not the all amazing kids who turned up to the climate change strike, but all the politicians who say go back to school. And like, yeah, I understand your side of the argument, and like, Australia's economy is funded so much by the oil and coal and iron ore and mining industries, but we just have to realise that we won't have an economy if we don't have a planet.